If you were wondering why I decided to slap the giant in front of Shinonuma and before Keynote Toten, it's simply because I just wanted to do the remakes in order. Now, technically, Nocturne Toten, Shinonuma, all those maps are grouped into their own thing, which is Chronicles. Meanwhile, the giant is a standalone remake. But either way, I just felt like doing it in order, so this made the most sense to me. So without further ado, we can start the gameplay experience video. And with that said, welcome to the Gameplay Experience, a series where we look at every single zombies map for its gameplay and not storyline, just focusing on the tools we get to work with in each map, how the map is designed, how it looks, everything like that. So with that in mind, I will be listing the criteria for this remake map. So this will be based on its adaptation, going from World at War and Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 3. We'll also be basing it off of its visuals, so how the map looks, along with its difficulty, its cons, and then our final rating out of 10. And beginning with its adaptation, I think the Giant is honestly wonderful. They did everything right with this map. The Giant came at the exact right time that Black Ops 3 required it, because Black Ops 3 had a shitty launch due to Shadows of Evil being such a complicated map, and the Giant was like, complication? Gone. The Giant is the saving grace of Black Ops 3's launch. I will say that until I die. The Giant's transition was handled incredibly well. It took what we knew and loved about Der Riese and kept it, along with adding a couple other things to throw it into Black Ops 3. Gobblegums, a perk Easter egg. These are all like really small things when you look at it, but it changes the map up quite a bit. There's even like snow in the map. It does not look the exact same as it did in Der Riese. Yes, the layout's exactly the same, but it's different enough to give the map its own identity. This isn't Der Riese 2.0. This is Der Riese's brother. Similar, but not exactly the same. And that's just what's amazing about the Giant thus far, because no other remake map can say that. Every other remake map feels exactly the same. It doesn't seem like just a brother or sister. It feels the exact same, just modernized. This not only feels modernized, but a little bit different. But it stays true to its source material, which is wonderful. And moving on to visuals, I love the visuals of the Giant. It looks really nice. Der Riese had a lot of this gray, dark tone to it. And the Giant stays true to that with its backgrounds and everything, but it's so much better looking. There's better lighting throughout the map because of the better engine. There's even snow in the map. Not to mention, like, just to pair up with the visuals and the modernization of Der Riese or the Giant, whatever you're going with here, they even have a remix of Beauty of Annihilation, which most people will say the song's shit. However, it's one of my favorites. Come at me, I'll fight you all. The Giant just all around is a very nice looking map. Black Ops 3 and, well, zombies in general has kind of like a lot of gray palettes to go with their maps, and though the Giant has some of that, it has this really amazing lighting in other areas that just make the map look 10 times better than it did in Der Riese. It's quite amazing. You can only say that it's because of the engine so many times before you realize the developers really stepped up with the lighting, the coloring, all of it. The Giant looks very beautiful, and I'd go as far as to say it's one of the most beautiful Black Ops 3 maps. In terms of difficulty, the Giant is literally God in zombie map form. It saved the launch of Black Ops 3 because it's not a complicated map. It was the perfect map for getting to know the new Black Ops 3 weapons, to understand what double pack-a-punching is, to find out which double pack-a-punch ability is better, to get used to Gobblegums. It's a perfect map to adapt to Black Ops 3 through, and I really wish the Giant was the launch map and not Shadows of Evil, as much as I do appreciate Shadows of Evil. The Giant is a wonderful map in terms of difficulty, and it's fun for casual, intermediate, and professional players all around. Lots of fun to be had here. Moving on to cons here, and please hear me out. Don't rip me apart in the comments if, a bunch of people see this, but there are a few cons I do have to talk about, and I hope people don't, stab me or whatever. Anyhow, first things first, the Giant is a very simple map, which difficulty-wise and player-base-wise is very amazing, but there is a consequence to be paid for that. It is very easy to get set up in the Giant. And that's the thing. That's kind of like the interesting trade-off. Do you want to put more content, more progression you can achieve in a map in exchange more intermediate and advanced players can have access to, while the beginners just don't enjoy the map because it's too hard? Or do you make it simple, but as a result make getting set up a lot easier and make the map stale in the long run? It's kind of an interesting trade-off, but the thing is, that's what I'm getting at. The Giant suffers from being simple, because the map gets boring once you're fully set up. Another con that I do have to point out is just the obscurity of the perk Easter egg. Very cool by concept, but it's a pain in the ass to get. You need at least 6,000 or 6,500 points just to get the perk after you do all the steps to it. Alright, step 1, get Symbol Monkeys from the box. Step 2, make sure all the generators are finished and Pack-a-Punch's access so you can teleport to the mainframe. 1,500 points each, there's 3 of them. Throw a Monkey Bomb, down as you're teleporting. Bam. Okay? And then step 4, the perk is shown, and it's either Deadshot or Stamina Up. That's a pretty expensive price to pay for Stamina Up and Deadshot. Stamina Up doesn't even have really much of a place on this map because this map is already small as it is, and Deadshot you don't really need if you're good with headshots as it is, so it's kind of a useless Easter egg. Now, it's really cool, but can we have better perks? How about Widow's Wine? I know a lot of people who have not really gotten the chance to use Widow's Wine because they only have shadows. Well, what about the Giant? Widows would have been great here. To allow new players to check out the new perk? Yeah, Widows would have been totally great here. No, okay, excuse me then. And another thing I have to point out, because the double Pack-a-Punch, the Wonder Wop has become kind of irrelevant, to be honest. It's not a bad weapon by any means, but it's not going to get you much further than a double Pack-a-Punch weapon would, so it feels overshadowed. And one last thing I have to point out is kind of the obscurity and disappointment of the Annihilator Easter egg. The Annihilator is an okay weapon and all, and I know a lot of people don't like it, however, I do. But even though I like it, I will have to admit, it doesn't really fit well with the Giant. It would have been really amazing had they brought back the flamethrower from World at War into this. That would have been the perfect callback. I'm telling you, fanboys would have went nuts over it. Just, the Annihilator, it doesn't make thematical sense at all. Do the flamethrower, not that. Like, the Annihilator's like the most boring zombie specialist weapon we've had. And, like, once again, I don't mind it personally, but when people complain about it, I can't debate with them why the Annihilator's good because they have a valid point. The Giant is a very wonderful map, and it is the hero of Black Ops 3 Zombies, honestly. And even despite its cons, 2 of those cons you're not even forced to be faced with. They are optional. You don't necessarily need to experience those drawbacks of the map if you don't want to. The Giant serves as that knight in shining armor for Black Ops 3, and I wish a lot of people gave it a little bit more credit. A lot of people like the Giant, especially the casuals, but I wish every single type of player gave the Giant a lot of credit. It's a very good map, and if you don't like the Giant, that's fine, but at least appreciate what it did for Black Ops 3. Because without it, Black Ops 3 would not look good at all. And on that note, let's give Giant the heroic rating that it deserves. Doris was initially a 9.0 out of 10. I am able to bump that up to a 9.25 out of 10. And before all you crazy wackos start asking me, would I play the Giant as much as Mob of the Dead, as I also gave that map a 9.25 out of 10? You bet your ass I would.